from group readings want to show our presentation. But before that, I will introduce myself first. My name is Muhammad Hilmian Saputra. I will begin the presentation. But in here, I will tell you that we want to present 3 points. And the first one is I will present you, and by next will be presented by my friends. Okay, now we here in reading, right? Reading is easy skill to keep up. So like many of us can still read in a foreign language that we use to be able to speak as well. So like books up open all the world, that very important to language learning is make the reading is enjoyable to every children. So now my part is approach to reading. There are 3 points that our group will present to you all, my friends. The first one is approach to reading. I will explain a bit and will explain by my friends too. The second one is method of reading tasks, and the third is techniques of reading tasks. Okay, the first one is approach to reading. I will explain there are 4 ways to approach reading. The first one is phonics, look and say, whole sentence reading, and the others. But my part is just to explain to you all just 2. The first one is phonic. This approach is based on letter and sound. So like you just show the letters to the pupils. It may take 30 minutes. But this is so important that you to know is the sound, like you pronounce the sounds. Okay, I'll give you the example. This one is like the letter A, how the letter that is pronounced. And B or C or anything else, how it's pronounced. So like this one. You wrote it in the whiteboard or blackboard, and then you say the sounds, how to pronounce, like A. And then you can put it in one word, like this one, a group of words, C-A-N-T, and how to pronounce the group of words is can't. So like that. Although the phonics can be so complicated to the pupils, but the phonics can make the pupils so influenced with their own skills. Because so many pupils don't have a different language with English. Not all pupils use English in their mother tongue. Okay, the second one is look and say. This approach is based on words and phrases and makes a lot of use of flashcards. It is usual by starting teaching everyday words we are already familiar with children. So when you teach the pupils, you don't give a hard word or a rarely used word, but a familiar word. And this way may spend 5 minutes of 30-minute lesson on 4 new words, or you can spend it more time in this one. So you can bring a flashcard. Flashcard you can cut like the word can. You can cut this one into small pieces, and then bring another word, and then you give them the flashcard. So or you hold that flashcard and then you say to the children, a book, like that. This one happens several times with each word, so you repeat that once again and once again. Okay, there are a lot of games that you can make with this look and say approach, like matching word and picture. You bring a picture and a word, then you match, and many of games that you can make. Pointing to the object in a card, guessing which card Teddy has picked it out of the hat. So this approach is so good for pupils to influence their reading skills. And the last two will explain by my friends. That's all from me. If any mistake, I'm sorry so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So here I would like to continue the next material that's still related to teaching reading to young learners. There are 2 points that we are going to discuss here. The first is whole sentence reading, and the second is language experience approach. Let's start from whole sentence reading. So whole sentence reading is a process of reading and remembering a complete sentence rather than their phonetic pieces. It's often taught with their use of sight word cards by giving the students list of some sentences and asking them to repeatedly write them out. Eventually, this practice of role memorization forces the students to internalize the shape of each sentences until it can be recalled and used from memory. Moving on to language experience approach. Language experience approach, or we can call it as LEA, is based on common or shared experiences of the students in the class. Teachers use words or concepts with which they are familiar. LEA is used for second language learners who don't have much knowledge about English. In its process, the teacher would gather the students together around blackboard or whiteboard or any place where the teachers have ability to write down the message that the students share. And this can be done in a small group or a large group. But if it's done in a large group, the teachers have to be very careful with the time, because the students will get restless after about 10 minutes. They will lose their focus after 10 minutes. The question that the teacher exposed as the example for today is, what food should we have at our kindergarten feast? The teacher will ask them to answer easily. There is no right or wrong answer when we are doing LEA or language experience approach. Let's say that the first student's name is Zahrani. She would say to the teacher, we should have pizza. Then the teacher write what she said. We should have pizza. Continue to the next students. Maybe the next students would say we should have banana. The teacher would say and write what he said. The teacher never changes the students' answers. If sometimes one of the students says something wrong in grammatically, the teachers still write it, then correct what they write in incorrect form, and then correct it together. LEA allows the students to write everything, so they are not forbidden to say we should have banana. The teacher would say and write what he said. The teacher never changes the students' answers. If sometimes one of the students says something wrong in grammatically, the teachers still write it, then correct what they write in incorrect form, and then correct it together. LEA allows the students to write everything, so they are not forbidden to say what they want. Then reread what have written. Teacher can use a pointer or a ruler or anything else to point the writing on the whiteboard. Then say it together. And the students will read aloud with the teacher. Remember, be careful if it's done in a big or in a large group. The teachers have to be very careful with time. Here, the students not only teach about reading, but the teacher build the students' knowledge about capital letters, punctuation, spaces between words, vocabulary, and grammar too. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Next, we are going to present to you some methods of reading tasks for young learner. The first one is reading a story from a book. Reading a story from a book, and the second one is reading a class story. Begin from the reading a story from a book. So the process is where a teacher is trying to give their students a storybook that consisting of children's story, and then the teacher is reading the story, is pointing the words, and they ask the students to follow them. This method is actually an easy way to do because students and children's is basically interesting in following their teacher because they know that their teacher is true in pronunciation, so it's just so easy to follow their teacher. The second one is reading a class story. Reading a class story is actually a little bit similar with reading a story from a book, but the different process is in the reading a class story, there is a process of coloring the pictures, and then the students will imagine and telling the teacher about the story, and then the teacher just trying to accept the student's story, and then after that the teacher is reading the sentences, reading the story, and then just pointing the words too as the previous method, and the teacher is also trying to ask the students to follow the teacher. So reading a class story and reading a story from a book is a little bit similar, but the difference is in the reading a class story there is a coloring process by the students. Thank you.
Okay, next, reading text based on child's language. The point in this material is child's language, so we follow the child's language. For example, teachers give a picture on a paper and ask the students about the picture in English. After that, teacher helps students when the students get stuck of what they are going to say by using their own language, the student's own language. And also the teachers write down what the students say and read it as the students see. And next is reading familiar nursery rhymes and songs. So talk about songs. For example, teachers give a song lyric to the students and ask them to sing it as how they want. But important is don't tell it's not a real reading material. Tell the student that it's not a real reading material. So the students will build their confidence up. And after that, teachers teach them slowly the correct way of reading the lyrics. So that is from me. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Mamadou Pouy from Shakwala University, Banda Aceh. And in this video, I would like to explain some points about English for young learners. And the first one is introducing book. If you as a teacher you want to introduce a book to your student, you need to write down the title on the board, to show the cover of the book to your student, and explain them about the book, a little bit, something very interesting about the book. And after introducing book, there is a second point we would like to talk in this video, and it's about book reviewing. So to review a book is very important because it can help you to decide if with your student if this book is helpful for you. It could help you also to have some indication about the book before you working on the book, and also it could help you help the student especially to decide or to have critical approach about the book. And finally, reviewing a book also is very interesting because it can help the student to have a general idea before working on the book. And when you review a book with your student, it is a good chance to make them very interested in the book, and they have the willing to read the books and to work on that. And after this point, we would like to discuss about to share with you some reading reading task. The first one is the silent reading. Silent reading is very important if you want to help the student to improve their confidence. And example, you can give them some stories. You explain to them some stories, and you give them 2 minutes to read in a silent way the story. And the second example is that you can let them read the half of the story, and after that you discuss about the story in the mother tongue. And also the final technique about reading is read aloud. Reading aloud is very important because it can help the student to improve their pronunciation, and you can let them read by individual or in pair or in group, in a small group. The teacher also can check some pronunciation, some meaning, and explain it to the student, or you can do kind of dialogue between two students and they speak out loud. These are some points we would like to share with you. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.